Good morning, all you profitable stylists and all you future profitable stylists out there. Pricing strategies for hair replacement. That's what we're covering today. Hair replacement systems. What are the other terms used for systems these days? What is the current lingo?
You know, I've never found a term or a word I like. I traveled teaching hair replacement with hair skiing for a couple of years, and I kept saying hair replacement system was, I don't know, because it kind of describes a lot. Some people are calling it the bio, well, there's the hair and the bio hair. Like this is your biological hair, and then you've got the non-bio hair. Some people say bio hair, non-bio hair, hair piece, toupee, hair replacement, hair system. Um, uh, what's one? Your unit. A real common word for a long time
Oh,
was
the
unit.
unit, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a unit? I don't know. I hated unit. I don't know why. Unit just sounds so stupid. So there's so many. A wig, and then you've got the derogatory terms like a rug.
Oh,
In
the
the black
squirrel
culture,
hat. That's what I call it, a squirrel hat.
well, in the black culture, they call it a weave, a man weave.
Man, weave,
So
yeah.
it's there's a lot of names. I'm not saying one is good or bad. I like some better than others, but I don't love any one term. I have people criticize me when I do videos teaching, and they're like, "Why do you call it a system? It's just a whatever." And I'm thinking, well, why do you call it what you call it? Because it's all of those things. It's really, call it whatever you want. One of the most popular one of the most popular people on social media is a girl who calls herself the toupee queen. And I mean, she's got
Queen.
a
Okay.
pink neon sign on the wall behind her says toupee queen, and or however you pronounce toupee queen. And she does a lot of hair replacement. Hair replacement and hair restoration for a business name are two of the more common. Right as the phone book was going out of style, that's what people were using to list themselves in a phone book. But now it's like, where do you list yourself? So what are we going to talk about? How to charge for it, huh?
So we're talking about pricing strategies because there is, I don't want to say it's popular right now, I trending, I mean, I guess it's trending, that's what popular is. But what's trending right now and what's giving a lot of attention to these kind of hair replacement and hair replacement systems and all these other terms that we're calling them is the clip-on temporary wear. And especially now, the progression is moving towards full systems because you start off with temporary clip-in stuff, and that's fun, the little topper pieces. But then people want extended wear toppers. And then they want volumizing toppers. Then they want, and you just, the natural progression is to go more and more and go bigger and bigger. So there is somewhere in between an over the counter for the weekend or for the evening event. There is something in between full on, I don't know, bonded or I'm going to say the terms all incorrectly now. The shave and no shave techniques.
Oh, I just wrote that down. Yeah, I just did a consultation yesterday, and some of my favorite things, I want to sing that Christmas song about these are a few of my favorite things. When the customer says, well, I know I don't want, and I'm like, well, can tell me a little bit about that? And they're like, well, I don't know anything about it. I just know I don't want it.
No, I don't want it. I do not want that.
And why do you know you don't want it? And so,
Facebook said so.
yeah, yeah. And then the other interesting one to me, and I get the psychological things behind it, but she says, and I don't want my head shaved. I said, okay. What if that would be the best option? Well, I don't care. I'm here because you're the professional, and I want you to tell me what I know. I don't know everything. I'm thinking, well, this is obvious from the first sentence you said that when you came in, but you started off giving me limitations. You started off telling me she's thin on top, and she says I'm here for hair extensions, and I'm like, well, we're gonna have to put them in right here and do a comb over to cover that that thinning on top. I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking. I was like, no, you are not here for extensions. And I just told Alexis this morning, and we got a list over here. I said, I need to make a video, like just a preliminary video to just show and explain to people the things that are available ahead of time. So that at least in their head, they can know that there's a bunch of different options. And more than anything to me, and unfortunately and fortunately, I've gone through all the techniques through the years. And just like extensions being one of the options, right, for getting more hair in your head, and it'll totally play into pricing. The problem and the challenge that most younger or just getting into some sort of hair addition, hair restoration procedure is, you have to start somewhere, right? This is the good and the bad of it. You start somewhere, you learn a process or a technique, and then you try to fit that solution on every problem. That, in a nutshell, is the problem with most people's hair replacement or hair restoration technique services or their process in their business. And then that's not the majority of them out there, although there's a lot. The majority know two techniques, two different things. They know
that's the average.
Yeah, so they know some sort of hair extension technique, and they know some sort of hair restoration, even if it's just a wig or a clip-on topper. And so they're like, well, it's going to be one of these two that fixes everybody. Well, because they're thinking, because here's the first great divide. I've got a bunch of slashes on here. I've got this or this. And with wigs, well, I shouldn't say wigs, with baldness or thinning, you've got two big divides, right? You've got, are you thin up here, or are you thin on these ends, that here, wherever they are? And yes, sometimes it's both, but most of the time they're trying to solve one or the other problem. And so that's kind of where it starts for me. And so when this lady comes in, that's my first visual. I'm looking at her, and in my head, I quickly subdivide, like, you're here for top of the head help more than sides of the head, which sides is going to be more all your extension techniques for the most part. Because for the most part, extensions don't go past a certain part of the head, or they start becoming visible from too thin of hair on top. And then hair replacement. This is something I told her too. Hair replacement is mostly for the top of the head. It doesn't even work well down into the back of the head, down on the sides of the head. And there's a few reasons for that. Like, you see all these expressions I'm making, and I'm moving my face around. If hair replacement goes past a certain point onto the forehead, it comes loose because it's bonded or taped on, and those expressions and that moving skin breaks it loose. But right where you have hair, look, it all moves kind of together. There's no wrinkles past there. And then on the side of the head, those ears move a little bit. So even this part moves a little, but on the back of the head, from like here to here, when you're that neckline all in this area, it moves so much that a bonded on shave technique, taped or glued or bonded on the back of the head, doesn't work so well. So there's areas of the head that certain types of techniques work better on. And immediately I look at her and I'm thinking hair replacement of some sort, top of the head solution. There's a lot. There's shave, no shave, human, synthetic, daily wear, extended wear. Those are a bunch of choices too. And so the biggest first divide is I'm thinking not extensions. And she says, I'm here for extensions and I don't want my head shaved. And I'm thinking, goodbye. No, we do have no shave techniques, but you want to talk a little bit? Because do you have any questions yet?
I have so many questions.
Go ahead.
Now I have more questions than what I even started from. You know.
I know. Go ahead and ask something. I'll before we go too far.
Well, then, I've been having a lot of conversations especially in particular this past 2-3 weeks. You know, January is a great month to have all these financial reviews of your business because it sets you up for the rest of the year. When a stylist comes off the holiday rush from Halloween to New Year's, there's a lot of income that is generated. There's a lot of pricing that is negotiated. There's a lot of deals that are made, promotions and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of business is done. And what a lot of stylists don't realize, when we have these financial classes in January and in the beginning of the year, especially this whole entire first quarter, we look at their numbers, we review their numbers from the holiday rush, and they don't realize they almost generate as much just in that one period, almost as much as the whole year combined.
Mm-hmm.
From period to period, the amount of income that's generated is huge. So with that said, a lot of stylists that miss their goals and miss their mark, when we go back and break it down, it always comes down to they're not charging enough, but they don't realize why they're not charging enough. And it's all these ceiling caps that they arbitrarily put in place for themselves.
In their head, yeah.
In their head. Some of them are charging by the hour because they think if they're working that many hours during the holiday, because they're working extended hours compared to the rest of the year, they should charge by the hour to make up for those extended hours. I don't personally agree with that, but we got to talk about it. Some stylists think, oh, it's the holiday, I have to appreciate my clients, my customers, so I should either not raise my prices or lower my prices.
I never.
Again,
that makes sense. I've never heard that one, but it makes sense.
It makes sense. I get it. I understand it. I don't agree with it, but I get it. Then you've got other stylists who are out there going, well, it's the holiday rush. I'm going to be bonkers. Everybody's going to drive me bonkers. Therefore, I'm just going to put a bunch of packages together. This is my price. Take it or leave it. I don't want to deal with it. I'm already crazy as it is. Like, I'm already stretched thin and mental as it is. I can't take it anymore. This is my price. And it's like, okay, I can understand that as well too. I don't necessarily know if that's the best choice to make or not, but I can see where you're going with it. So when we sit down and we review and we try to come up with a pricing structure for the rest of the year moving forward, there's always these things of, should I do it incrementally? Should I do it all in one shot? Doing it incrementally, I think, is an older way of doing it, and it had merit at the time. But in today's society, I don't think it applies as well. I think doing the one price increase and just figuring out what you want it to be, just make your price what you want it to be. So I kind of want to, that's kind of the questions how I want to present it to you. If we're talking about it by the hour, or if we're talking about it by the service, or if we're talking about it by a bundle, and by a bundle, what I mean is, like, a lot of stylists will charge a lot of money the first time because they got to get the hair fresh. They got to install it. They got to cut it in and style it in. But then there's these two schools of thought of, well, if they're coming back to maintain it, I shouldn't charge as much as the first time because this is only a maintenance appointment. And then there's the other side of it of, well, I got to take that off. I got to, service it. I got to put it back on again. I got to put it on exactly where I took it off from, so that, I should charge more.
Let's talk a little bit about hourly. And it's weird because you do kind of evaluate your life on how much you're making per hour. So at the end of the week, how many hours did I work? If I worked 40 hours, that would be nice. If I worked 40 hours and I made this much money, I got some simple math to do and say, I'm making about this much an hour. It's a great place to start to see if you should be working in a fast food restaurant instead. I mean, you do need to kind of compare yourself to living wages. Am I making at least more than it takes to survive? And yes, I get it. Sometimes you're like, I'll just need to work more hours to make more money, but you're just going to die. I don't know.
How many more hours can you work?
That's right. So the service thing, and I love to take mechanics as a situation because you're
talking about car mechanics?
Yeah, automobile mechanics. It's a strange system that I learned years ago. They have the book time. They're like, you need a new transmission. What is that going to cost me? Well, the book time is 4 hours and $1,000. And I'm like, oh, okay. And they do it in 30 minutes. And so I always thought, you see what I'm saying? So it's based on a beginner mechanic taking their time, not killing themselves, would take 4 hours to do it. And obviously the mechanic shop needs to make $250 per hour to pay the mechanic and pay the bills and all the marketing and everything. So they're basing their life on how much the service should cost and how many hours it should take. But when hairdressers charge by the hour, the thing that always got me was if you charge by the hour and you get better and faster, but you don't raise your hourly rate, you get cheaper to the client. And the part that really bothers me the most is that the client judges what you're doing with your time if you charge by the hour.
Really do.
Yeah, if you're charging for extensions and you're like, oh, we charge $100 per hour, and you go to the bathroom, they're like, you were in there 10 minutes. Are you going to knock that off the hourly charge? You know, not every hour I'm here in the salon because you were talking to somebody, you stopped and ate, you got a sip of water, you went to the bathroom, and they're like, could stop talking to me, just work on my head, work faster so I can get this cheaper. I don't want to be criticized like that, you know, and it's not a good relationship. So hourly has so many negative problems with it. Whereas if you are going to stick to the hourly charge, just make sure that you're raising your hourly rate as you get better and faster. That's all I'm going to say. I don't say hourly is wrong. I don't like it, but those are the pitfalls, right? So you have to be real professional, stay on your game, and raise your hourly rate, maybe yearly.
I'll agree with you on that one. I personally don't like it because it creates a ceiling cap of income.
Yeah, I don't like it either. Well,
and this whole industry,
you raise your hourly rate though.
You can, but okay, yes, the answer is yes. You can raise your hourly rate.
Right.
Even then, though, you are still capping. You're always capping yourself somewhere, even if you raise your hourly rate, because you can only do. Okay, so the most common way you're going to book is going to be a 15-minute appointment block.
Sure.
That's the most common way to book. So even if you maximize your hourly rate on a 15-minute incremental timing, you can still only ever produce an X amount at the end of the day if you have every 15-minute block filled.
That's right.
You're still capping yourself. Where does your add-ons come in opportunities? Where does your double booking opportunities come in? Where does your extended services or extra services opportunity comes in? There's so many different things. The attraction.
That's what you're saying. Right. So the problem is too many stylists don't do all those things anyway. But that's a great argument because you shouldn't be I see what you're saying, and I will agree with you completely and say you just really shouldn't even be a hairdresser if you're going to charge by the hour. But if you are,
it's not the attraction to, our mentality as a hairdresser is not a cubicle 9 to 5 banker hour job.
All right. So you know where the problem is? People don't know how you make money as a hairdresser when they go to school. And then they get out of school and they say, oh, I thought when I got the license, people would just want me to do their hair and I'd make money. They have no idea they have to kind of build it themselves. They have to be likable. They have to be good at. I'm surprised at how many hairdressers, well, I'm not anymore, but I used to be surprised at how many become nurses. I started to see the difference is in a nursing field, you don't find your own clients. I remember when I was young and we were doing hair and we're trying to find the clients, had to be good to them, nice to them, reschedule them, sell them more, all the things you're talking about to make more and more money. And as I'm approaching the 20 and getting close into the $30 an hour thing, the girl next to me says, I'm going back to nursing school. I can immediately make $35 an hour. And I said, that is more than I'm making right now. But I saw the occasional hair extension job making me $100, $150 an hour, sometimes $200 an hour. And so I liked the all over the place and the thing like, well, if I do more of the thing that I like doing anyway, I can make way more than a nurse can. But some people don't want to do that thing. They don't have the business owner mentality. They don't want to be responsible for trying to get the clients. And so to me, they want to go, they need to work at more of like a chain salon where the chain does all the marketing, all the advertising, brings education, has a coordinator, and they schedule you. You just show up, customers are there, and you do them. Then hourly rate might be the thing for you because you don't want to do all. Is there some stupid comments coming through?
Yeah, you need a better doctor.
Well, I did go to the doctor one time. I think it was an earache. I'm not really sure. From flying a bunch and having the earbuds in, I don't think my ears were drying out enough, and I was getting some earaches. I started learning after a bath I have to not have those in for a little while because I was getting some earaches. And so I was dealing with flying and earaches for this 1 year when I was doing a lot of flying and teaching. And the doctor, he's taking notes, and behind he's like, "So what do you do for a living?" And I'm ask all of you little questions. And I was like, "Hair extensions." He goes, "Yeah, how is that?" I said, "Well, we charge like this. I make like that." He stops writing and he goes, "That's more than I make." I said, "Well, I know we use you guys as an example sometimes. It's like, if you do hair extensions, you can make more than a doctor." Now, we don't all do extensions all day, every day. As a doctor, you're making big money every single hour you're here. But again, they're not having to build their business. They come in as a second into a practice. They're taking all the overflow. The other doctors have already done all the work of bringing the customers in. There's usually somebody retiring and giving them, or they go with a big group like Oshner, and Oshner fills their books. And so it's similar, right? So you have to realize ahead of time. In today's world with social media and knowledge, I think a lot of young hairdressers going into school realize they're going to have to do it. They have to be a little bit more of a hustler. They have to get that business themselves. And so I don't think it's right or wrong necessarily what we're saying, but I think if somebody were to use this as a guide, like if you don't like talking to people, you don't like promoting yourself, you don't like the upsell of, hey, if we put a little highlight in with your color today, it could look better, and it only cost us $30, $50, $80 more. Well, you and I know we just took the same hour and a half that we're going to be with this lady, and we just bumped our money up because we're not charging by the hour, charging by the service, and we're selling the service. But if you can't do all of that, well, you don't become a hairdresser, or you work in a salon that does all that other stuff for you, and you are just a laborer. In my opinion, I don't like it. So it's hard for me to talk good about it, but there's a lot of people that work at Supercuts, Master Cuts. There was a Regis at one point. I don't know if it's around anymore. A lot of Sports Clips, a lot of Fantastic Sam's. There's a lot of chain salons that have some very successful hairdressers, but they are kind of limited, like you say, because they're either working hourly or a strict commission, and they're not having to do the work to bring the clients back. But you know what's sad? They still have to do a decent job to keep their job. You still have to be pretty good.
You're working hard. I'm not saying anything
about you work hard.
Coming out. They are working hard.
But if they do bad jobs, they get fired. So you still got to do decent to excellent work to keep your job, to keep your client. So you might as well do the route that we're talking about. That's why that's
basically what I'm coming down to. So then a lot of other things, what people don't realize when they come to pricing is, do you find the overhead cost? I don't think people really factor in the overhead cost of the hair itself. In addition to the hair itself, all the other tools and materials and supplies that they need to perform the service. So many times I'll see a stylist go, I've been doing this. I don't think I'm making money. I do a lot of it, but I don't think I'm making any money. And then when we turn around and look at it, we're like, you're barely breaking even. I don't even understand how you're doing this.
Let me tell you a little secret. This is something that has always saved me, because I'm always thinking in the future. And it's not a bright future necessarily, but it's a safe future.
Okay.
I always think, especially if there's an expensive product involved, like a hair piece, a hair system, hair replacement, hair extensions, I think, okay, what do I need to do this client? How much is it going to cost me in product? My time, I feel like I'm giving it away. If I make $100, I'll be happy, especially when it's a new service, new client. I just want to make them happy. I want to see them again. And so whatever that product is going to cost, I assume I'm going to screw it all up and need to buy it again. So that's my safety margin and my huge profit. So if I got to spend $400 on extensions, I say, what if I screw up the haircut? I'm going to have to do 400 again. So immediately my hair cost in my head is 800. I'm ready to replace all that hair. And you know what it does? As soon as that client says, I don't think I like this, no problem, I will fix it for free. Talk about customer service through the roof, because I already am okay with doing it again. They have no idea. I've already built the cost in. So I'm already ordering. Sometimes with a hair system, I order two when I'm training a new person how to do it. And they're like, we need to get color number 4 for so-and-so. And I'm like, yeah, and you still suck at hair cutting. Go ahead and order 2. Because if they mess it up, I can put one on and fix it and do it again, or they can put it on and fix their mistake. And we've already got the cost built in. So now if they or I don't mess up, profit, more profit. But of course, I've figured in the cost times 2, plus I want to make a little more money. So if I mess up and have to replace it, I still make money. But if I don't, oh my goodness, I made my profit. And I've got the profit of the replacement system or whatever. And now a lot of times what comes along is 3 or 4 months later, they need new hair in a lot of cases like this. And so I've already got the product with their name on it. Sometimes you can send it back to the manufacturers. They're like, oh, it went good. I didn't mess up. I can send it back, get my money back, or get a credit. So that's good too. Or I just keep it and I use this when they need hair again or another client. But when I do this next or another client, I have no cost in product, the hair replacement or the hair extensions. So that's my safety margin. I can buy it again because I've already got the safety margin built in.
It all makes sense, especially in the beginning. You have to figure out what you're doing. You got to start somewhere. You know,
screw up.
You got to screw up. This is the worst phone call I get all the time is, Eddie, I need help. I did so-and-so's hair. She doesn't like it. I don't know what to do. I can't afford more hair. You know, or it's going to kill me. Like if I have to pay out of my pocket to replace hair, or if I have to redo. The redo argument makes stylists so mental, and it terrifies them. It absolutely terrifies them because it's such an unexpected thing. I love that you're saying, like, you don't want to go into a service with a loser mentality going, oh, I'm probably going to screw this up.
It takes the pressure off, though. If I screw up, no problem.
That's the difference. You got to go in with this is, I'm going to rock this out. But Murphy's Law, and Murphy is a jerk. You know? This poor Murphy guy, but he's a jerk. So if something goes wrong, because something can go wrong, you have to equally be mentally prepared for it. The worst thing you can do is start telling stories and trying to pass the blame over. Are you familiar with the expression falling on the sword?
Yes.
So falling on the sword is the greatest power we have in our industry because we are in such a service-related industry. And I'm not saying take the full falling on the sword means when a problem happens, you will throw yourself onto the sword and you'll kill yourself to save the other person's honor or mercy or whatever, okay? Now, that's the literal sense. I'm not saying go freaking kill yourself. What I'm saying is in a scenario, in a situation when something goes wrong, you offset most of the blame. I'm not saying all of the blame, but offset some of the blame or most of the blame onto yourself just to make the other person feel good that everything is gonna be okay. There is a difference between when it's the worst freaking moment when the client's looking in the mirror and they don't like it, and you know that freaking look, and then those words come out their mouth. I don't know, or they start doing the squishy face, and you're like, I don't know if I like this. The knot, the heart attack, the pain in your shoulder, like a heart attack pain that you get, is the worst feeling ever. You have a split second to compose your face, compose yourself, and make yourself look like you are unfazed and you are in control of that conversation. Because if you're sitting there going, oh crap, and the client sees that and they're already not feeling good about it either, it's destination effed. It's over. It's completely over, man. Versus you walk around the mirror. Don't talk to them through the mirror no more. You come around, you take a knee, or you pull up a chair, or you get eye level with them. You sit down and you go, all right, let's discuss this. What's the matter? What's the matter? What's going on? Right? And then they're like, well, does this, because they're so self-conscious in the moment. Regardless of if it looks amazing, it's a psychological mind game.
It might look great, right? That's the even worse one when you think it looks great and they're like, oh, you're like,
right?
What are
because you're used to looking at yourself a certain way all the time. It's committed to memory. It's burned in your brains. When you all of a sudden do the big reveal and all of a sudden they have all this hair that they didn't have, it's a shock it's a mental shock.
And that's how I got good at it. You got to get that poker face on. You have to have the confidence to know what you did look good. Sometimes you mess up and you do need to fix it. Own that, like you said, fall on that sword. But most of the time, you did a great job. It looks really good. And they aren't used to seeing themselves differently. And they are looking for somebody to tell them it does look good and it is okay. And the change is good. And so it's good if you've already got this conversation with the other stylists in the salon too. Like, hey, when I make these big changes and you do too, we need to support each other and tell these clients, don't lie, but tell these clients if they look good, they need to hear it. They're looking for it right away. Like, oh my God, I didn't know if I'd like platinum blonde. They ask for it. And then they're like, I look like a hooker. Like, no, you no, you don't. You look great. Everybody's platinum blonde these days, But when I highlighted my wife's hair 20 years ago, God, when we were first getting together, I didn't even do a good job. You could barely see it, but she has dark hair and we put red in there. And she looked and she goes, oh my God. I said, what? And I'm thinking, I know you can't see it, huh? She goes, it's like hooker red. I said, what's hooker red? I'm thinking, I don't think that's a color. But I was like, she just felt like she was not.
It was classy. A change. It was a change as subtle as it was. It was a change.
She didn't think she looked classy anymore. And I was like, first of all, I didn't do a great job. You can barely see it. I can't even, like, if you get under the bright sunlight, it just looks like a faded brown. It's got a little red tinge to it. It hardly looked unclassy. But anyway, the slight change in her head was huge. So much so that it got me. I didn't have my poker face then because I was like, you know what? I wanted her to like me. So I was a little disappointed that she didn't like something I did. So it was like, oh my God, the end of the world. But it was just simple. It was normally somebody says they look at they don't say anything. Like you said, you can see it on their face. Most people look in the mirror and you're like, you have to sometimes be the first one to say, oh my God, this looks so good. Don't you think? And they're thinking, well, that's not what I was saying. Maybe
what rose glasses are you wearing? What are you talking about?
No, but sometimes they just need to be encouraged to think it looks good. Are we still on topic? I feel like we were supposed to talk more about money.
Because redos is a thing. Being the ability to be able to charge for a redo versus figuring out who should pay for it. Should that even be a topic in the conversation? So building in profit margins really helps to alleviate, if God forbid, and when a redo situation comes up or some kind of static, if the client thinks they don't like it for whatever reason. The last kiss of death I'll talk about, then we'll move on to the next one, is they're happy, you're happy, looks great, it really does. They go home and freaking family does not notice or does notice and has some crack ass opinion that they should have kept to themselves.
Yep, that's common.
Negative Nancy's, right?
Yeah.
And now the client comes back and she's like, I did like it, but now I don't like it,
Yeah, so, their husband says, what did you do?
So you gotta be prepared. And that cost of doing business has to be built into your pricing strategy for you to be able to absorb that additional time that I don't want to say it's going to be wasted, but it's going to be dedicated. It's going to be extended time that you were not planning for.
Right. Hiring a man to take care of the people that didn't like the hair that you did. Did you even hear that? Did you hear?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's
whatever it takes. Yeah, whatever.
How do they say your intrusive thoughts? Your intrusive thoughts.
Go to your next topic.
So now, all right. So we're talking about by the hour. We talk about service charges, pricing. Now, what about the maintenance cost? So if this is the first time they've done it, now you fast forward and they're going to come back in to maintain it now, meaning they've worn it for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever the period of time was. I'm talking about extended wear hair. Something that it's a service way, they have to come back and the stylist has to keep it up for them to maintain it. Should that price be lower? Should that price be the same as the install? Should that price be higher?
Well, it can't be the same because you don't have the product cost again, right? So
okay, if you put the product cost into the initial cost of the service, some stylists do a la carte pricing. They
yes.
charge for the purchase of the hair separately. They charge for the service installation and cutting in. Well, no, sometimes the installation is separate and the cutting in and styling is separate too. It's
right.
all over. Why is it the Wild West? Why is it all over the freaking place?
Well, you know, part of it is each state is a little bit different. Let's talk about that for a minute.
There is that too.
Well, there's that with the with sales tax. So in our state, there's no tax on a service, and so there's only tax on a product. And so when you're doing, which is weird, right? Because I can see where the lines can be gray. Some states charge no sales tax on anything, and then some charge sales tax on both. And so with us, if we're putting, well, let's start with the easy stuff. Everything has some product involved, right? Even if I'm going to cut your hair, I have some shampoo I'm using. That shampoo I'm using is just part of the service. So we just consider it a cost of service. So I'm just charging you your, let's just say $25, man's haircut maybe. Well, the shampoo, that was a product that should have had a tax put on it, but I didn't sell them a bottle of shampoo where there would be a sales tax. So then we move into color. There is a bottle of color or a tube of color. And so that's part of the service. So we don't ever charge for it. We just up that service cost. Say we're going to do it in color for $100. Well, the color is part of the service, but it is a product. So for some reason, when you move over into hair replacement or hair extensions, that product for some reason seems more significant. And so some salons, it's all over the place across the board. Some salons are like, well, that's a product and we charge separately for that. So we're going to charge you, the hair extensions cost us $200. So we're going to charge $400. They want to make a profit on the hair extensions before it ever gets serviced, right? So they consider that a product and there's a tax, service tax, sales tax on it. And then they charge for the service and there's no sales tax. So they do it separately. And then your question is, then your question comes when you do it the next time, do you charge that same service cost because you're removing and replacing? Well, it just depends because some of these products you're putting it on raw and you're having to clean it, cut it, style it. And then when you come back in, you're taking it off, putting it back on. So the first time you didn't have to take it off, remove it, but you don't have to cut it if you replace it back where it was. So there's some give and take. So it really kind of depends on exactly what we're talking about. And I don't think that service cost should be much different. But in our case, I'm trying to save the client money and I don't charge sales tax on the product because I think that product is part of the freaking service, just like the other ones. It's not like they're going home and sitting it on a shelf. It's part of their body. It's part of their head, just like the color or the shampoo or any of the other things. So extensions and hair replacement to me are part of the service, and it is a gray area for the IRS. And so it's part of the service. So it's just one price. And so I'm marking up the hair and the service and everything to be one price. So I'm not per se marking up the hair itself. I'm just saying that if the hair costs me this much and it's going to take me this much to do the service, I want to make about this much in this amount of time when I do it. So it's going to cost this much money. And then I know when I take my cost out, this is what I have left. That's what I want to make or split with the salon I'm with. So that's kind of where that's all the details you have to figure. And it's not the same in every state.
It's not the same in every state because when you're in Illinois, for example, and you're outside of the Chicagoland area where they want to tax you for breathing air, it does significantly impact your cost of doing business by about 10,000% because freaking Chicago. you know, but that's the problem. So you do have to factor that in, and you do have to take that into consideration. There is also in a mentality of some stylists believe that they're doing double the work because they're having to remove the system, cleanse it, sanitize it, service it.
So they charge more.
Cleanse the client's scalp, sanitize it, service it, and then reinstall it back again. Yes, they're not doing the cut in again because it's already been cut, but they may have to readjust and slightly blend or whatever, whatever maybe slight altercations need to be made. So there is that mentality of it. Some stylists believe that should have been factored in up front. Some stylists believe that should be addressed, each time. There's this argument of, why am I doing this service and charging less if I could just do a couple of highlights and make the same money in the same amount of time?
Well, right. If you're going to figure it like that, then yeah, you should be charging more. But I don't think that we're going to have a right answer here. I just wanted to cover all the ways I know it's done. And some bigger salons want to just separate out the product because they've got different stylists in the same salon at different pay scales and different quality levels at different speeds. And so the hair, it's the same. And so they're like, we're going to buy this hair. And for every time we're buying hair to put in the salon for stock and inventory, it cost us $100. We want you to charge the client $200 for this one, double the price or mark it up 20, 40. And then we'll deal with the service side of it. If you're an hour, if you do stuff in an hour, or the same service takes one hairdresser 1 hour, the other hairdresser 2 hours, well, quality level, they might be level tiered ABC stylists. And so then that's going to determine how much they charge and how much they make. So I can see where sometimes you just got to separate it because of your business model also. Yeah, I think we talked enough about this.
Well, then the last way I price things or we talk about pricing things is, you want to make a certain income level. So then do you ever work with stylists where based on the income level they want to make, you deconstruct it down from there, and then they have to figure out what services they use and perform, then they should be charging this much to reach that goal?
Well, you know what I do? I do a foil highlight program. I pick a little higher end service. Obviously we've got all these real dimensional color, block color, half a head of color foil highlight, all the cutting services. There's a lot of just basic color services also. So I take one of the little higher end, basic little. Okay, this is another big subdivide in my life. Let's talk about color and highlights. So to me, in the color world of changing people's hair color, there's two big factors. There's the things you get paid for. If you're just coloring somebody's hair, why is it so much cheaper than highlighting somebody's hair? What is the big difference there?
It's a rhetorical question, or you want me to answer it?
Couldn't you answer it with one word?
The amount of labor.
Yes, time. That's right. Good job.
One word.
You got a little nervous. I don't know. It's time, right? Right. So with color, it's heavily weighted in product, right? So you put the color on the hair and you don't have to charge nearly as much because the time is way down, but you're trying to make a little money on the color and a little bit of time. But when you're highlighting, it arguably so, that bleach powder in some cases can be cheaper than the color that got put on the client. In some cases, depending on how much you're using, and especially if you're using some low-end products, bleach can be inexpensive. But where really, let's say they're equal, what really changes it is the time, right? Because not just time, but like experience, quality.
It's the skill set of the application.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, the skill set.
Right. So you're pulling out a section, how far apart, how big or small, how much are you weaving, how close to the head do you get? Do you cause bleeding, spots, mess ups? Are you getting the right color? Bleaching is a lot higher skill, right? I mean, from all those things I just mentioned, and time. So you got skill and time. They're changing everything. And so I can teach somebody how to do a basic foil highlight with bleach before we ever do low lights and all 2 and 3 different color lights. But that, when we up the amount of time, I've just taken the cost of the salon and put it more on the stylist than on the products, because I'm like, hey, if you just develop a little more skill and spend a little more time with the client, we can bring that ticket up. And if you do one of those, let's just talk about 5 days a week, 5 work days a week. I'll say, if you just do one of those every day for a whole year, let's say 5 days, 5 times 52 weeks, take a couple of weeks off. You want, do 5 times 50. Say you're going to go on 2 weeks vacation, but you're going to go on 1 vacation and get sick 1 week. So you got 50 times those 5 services. How many services is that? What do we charge for that in the salon? How much do you make for each one? And I do a little calculation. Like, if you just do one highlight per day all year long, how much money would you make? And in most of the scenarios we come up with, it's somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000 a year. And I'm like, that's one foil highlight per day for the year. You make 15 grand. We'll just round down, right? Make it easy math. So how many can you do in a day? If you did 2 in the morning and 2 after lunch, you can quickly and easily see where you can make $60,000 a year on some. These are low prices too. These are very entry, low level, easy to get clients in your chair to do. If you would just focus, sure, cuts, styles, color, all the other things, extensions, hair replacement would be a great additions. But if you just focused on the one thing, a foil highlight that is more profit than cost to the salon, focus on that and get to the point where you're getting it done and rescheduling that person and getting it where if you can get to where you're doing 2 or 3 a day, you're in some living wages. You can't live on $15,000 a year, but you can maybe make it on $30,000 a year. But when you get to 45 and 60, and then you supplement with a few other things, and by the time the year ends and you're doing that many of them, you've got a name for yourself. Your skill level's going up. We're raising your prices. You're learning how to upsell more than just a highlight, some low light, some dimensional color, and you're charging more, and you can make way more than 60. But it gives them a little bit of a roadmap. So I do it a little backwards from you. I don't say how much you want to make. I'm like, this is what we charge for this one service. How often can you do this service in our salon?
Okay. So many different ways of achieving a result, of what you're trying to go for. So that's all good stuff. It's a lot of things to think about. There's a lot of decisions that needs to be made. At the end of the day, there is no one way that you're supposed to do or have to do. You have to discover what your ability is with your time and your effort, what your cost of living is, how much do you need to make to be able to afford to live, and you need to combine both of those 2 variables together to give you an idea of this is the number you need. Now, a matter of finding those clients that'll pay for that is a whole nother form of advertising, which we've done videos on before. I was
going to say, we've done those videos. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We've done those videos before.
I almost went into that when I was talking about the foil highlights, but I thought, you know what? Just do the foil highlights and you can make it. There's ways to get those clients.
There is. So, yeah. And that's an overview of all the different kinds of pricing strategies that is out there for hair replacement. So it is simple, but it's not necessarily easy. So you got to think about it. And if you have any questions, reach out, give us a comment, let us know, give us a call. Go to yourextensions.com, go to the Profitable Stylist Academy.com and check us out.
Comment, subscribe.